Welcome to the marking desk. It is late, the coffee is definitely getting cold, and my digital interface is glowing with hundreds of Cambridge Arabic 9680 scripts waiting to be graded. Today we are pulling the curtain all the way back on this explainer. I am a veteran chief examiner, and you and I are going to sit side by side right here at my dashboard. We are going to look at the exact anatomy of a top-tier script for the 2027 essay topics. We are not guessing what the mark scheme wants. We are looking at the exact, precise structural choices that trigger top marks, and the painful mistakes that drop candidates straight into the failing thresholds. Every day I see two types of students pop up on my screen. I call the first one Student Alpha. Let's call him Alex. Alex dumps massive, unorganized paragraphs of facts onto the page, forcing me to search desperately for any hint of actual analysis. Then there is Student Beta. Let's call her Sam. Sam writes with beautiful, flowing flair, but completely dances around the core command word of the prompt. By the end of our time together today, you are going to know exactly how to avoid being an Alex or a Sam and how to engineer a flawless response.
So let me ask you a question right off the bat, and I want you to really think about this. Do you know what I am scanning for in the exact 15 seconds after your script loads onto my screen? Because the reality of the grading desk is high stakes and incredibly fast. I am immediately hunting for assessment objectives. I am looking for AO1, AO2, and AO3. I am looking for your knowledge, your analytical depth, and most critically, your evaluative skills. Within seconds, just by looking at the physical shape of your paragraphs and scanning for the presence of comparative connectives, a clear trajectory is established in my mind. I am looking at your sentence structure. Does your opening sentence signal that you are operating at an A-star tier or a C tier? A strong thesis and a direct response to the prompt's specific command word, like understanding the massive difference between discuss and evaluate, need to be blindingly obvious right out of the gate. If they are not, you are already losing me.
15%. I need that number to really sink in. That is the massive chunk of your total marks in Paper 2 of the Cambridge Arabic 9680 exam that these specific 2027 essay topics account for. Think about the weight of that. You simply cannot afford to walk into the examination hall, sit down, and hope you can just wing a general essay on current events. This is a high-tariff battleground. The syllabus gives you the exact parameters in advance. If you master the framework we are dissecting today, you are effectively locking in a vital percentage of your final grade before you even pick up your pen. It is that crucial.
Let's move straight into Phase 1, dissecting core principles. We are going to break down the anatomy of the mark scheme right now.
Here are your exact targets. Lock these into your memory. The 2027 topics for Arabic 9680 are law and order, health and fitness, travel and tourism, medical advances, and pollution. Success here means deep, laser-targeted preparation. You need to instantly recall the specific, sophisticated Arabic vocabulary, the current debates, and the relevant data points associated with every single one of these 5 pillars. Generic terminology? It simply will not trigger the higher bands. If you use everyday conversational vocabulary to discuss complex medical advances, the grading software essentially caps your score. You must own the specific academic language for these topics completely. I highly advise creating a memory hack right now, a mnemonic using the first letters of these key terms to lock this exact scope into your mind.
Now, this right here brilliantly illustrates the dividing line on my grading desk. This is where we see the clash between students like Alex and Sam. There is a massive, massive difference between isolated textbook definitions and cross-topic connections. Alex's strategy is writing unorganized paragraphs that just dump an isolated definition of pollution, followed by a completely unconnected paragraph defining medical advances. That keeps the score locked in the lower C and D tiers. The absolute highest marks, the A and A-star bands, go to responses that actively connect the topics. For instance, you need to analyze how medical advances are directly necessitated by the specific types of respiratory pollution generated by global travel and tourism. You interweave the topics. Principal examiner reports confirm year after year that showcasing this interconnected understanding achieves significantly higher marks. It shows you understand the ecosystem of the syllabus, not just isolated flashcards.
Which brings us to the most crucial point of Phase 1, conceptual understanding. By Cambridge's definition, this is the ability to transfer connected knowledge and fundamental principles to unfamiliar contexts. True mastery requires taking those precise definitions and causal relationships and actively applying them to fresh, completely unseen scenarios presented in the stimulus material. If the prompt asks about law and order intersecting with cybercrime affecting medical advances, and you write a pre-memorized essay about local police patrols, your argument will fall entirely flat. I have to penalize it. The assessment requires flexible knowledge that adapts to the specific, nuanced parameters of whatever question is sitting in front of you.
Okay, let's shift gears and enter Phase 2, the method mark strategy. This is where we look at the exact procedural framework examiners expect to see.
Imagine Alex and Sam actively debating how to write a model response right now. Alex insists on just listing facts line by line. Sam argues for beautiful, sweeping statements. Both are wrong. As an examiner, I'm looking for a required, standardized sequence exactly like a pre-flight checklist. Step 1, extract elements. You must pull the core elements from the stimulus data to identify the actual problem. Step 2, apply principles. Bring in your specific Arabic vocabulary and syllabus concepts. Step 3, execute analysis. This is where you build a logical argument with clear working. Step 4, verify results. Double-check that your argument actually answers the specific command word in the prompt, not the question you wish they asked. Step 5, present in format. Use the proper headings and correct terminology. Skipping straight from reading the question to blurting out an answer without these 5 analytical steps leaves critical marks sitting on the table.
Listen closely, because this is an urgent examiner alert. Show you're working. Method marks can literally save your grade even if your final conclusion is totally flawed. Let's say a candidate misinterprets the final implication of a trend in the health and fitness topic. However, they meticulously show their problem-solving steps. They extract the right data, they apply the appropriate social principles, and they execute a systematic analysis. Because they show they're working, substantial method marks are still awarded. The critical thinking process and the structural scaffolding of your argument are heavily rewarded, even if your final destination is slightly off the mark. Never just jump to the conclusion.
Let's move into Phase 3, the red pen audit. We are going to expose the most common grade-killing mistakes straight from the principal examiner reports.
Time out. Before I grade this next section and show you the mistake that costs thousands of candidates their A-star, let's secure your own academic trajectory. Hit the subscribe button for ACE Exams, that's @ACE Exams, right now and turn on all notifications. Whether you are sitting for IGCSE, O-Levels, AS, or A-Levels, this channel is your direct line to outsmarting the marking desk. Okay, let's get back to the audit. Here are the top 3 ways candidates hemorrhage marks. Mistake 1 is confusing cause and effect. In the pollution topic, stating that environmental regulations cause industrialization rather than the inverse destroys your logical flow. Mistake 2 is bad format and presentation. Failing to use the appropriate formats or ignoring the strict conventions of a required text type is a fatal flaw. Mistake 3 is ignoring specific context. If the prompt specifies medical advances in developing nations and you write exclusively about high-tech European hospitals, you have completely missed the given context and sacrificed massive marks.
Let's look at a direct side-by-side comparison of flawed versus flawless logic. It is vital to understand this. When Alex discusses the law and order topic, his flawed logic simply lists textbook impacts, stating broadly that more police equals less crime. This swaps a potential effect for a guaranteed cause and instantly drops the answer into failing thresholds because it evaluates absolutely nothing. Flawless logic, however, establishes clear, nuanced causal relationships. We use the Peel structure here: point, evidence, explanation, link. A top-tier response evaluates how an increased law enforcement presence may initially suppress visible crime rates, but then it requires an analysis of the long-term societal costs to be truly effective. Nuance, clear causality, and flawlessly reconnecting the argument string back to the thesis are what secure those top grades.
We are now entering Phase 4, the final grading log. This is where we discuss the higher-order assessment objectives that secure a perfect, full-mark score.
I am handing the digital grading pen over to you for a live marking workshop. Look at this matrix. This dictates exactly how your essays are graded. Imagine a 30-second data scan on a complex text matrix. Where does the candidate's response fall? The descriptive level traps you at the absolute bottom. It simply states what is happening, like noting that global travel is increasing. It is just fluff. The analytical level is a step up. It explains the how and the why. For example, explaining that travel is increasing due to cheaper aviation fuel, which leads to higher carbon emissions. But the evaluative level, that catapults your writing to the top. This involves spotting the core issue, questioning assumptions, weighing alternatives, and judging the ultimate significance of those emissions against economic benefits. If you are stuck describing, you are losing marks by the minute.
Here is your ultimate cheat sheet for evaluative thinking. To consistently hit that top evaluative tier, 4 rigorous actions are required. First, question the underlying assumptions of the prompt. Second, consider multiple perspectives rather than presenting a flat, one-sided argument. Third, find both similarities and differences using sophisticated comparative connectives in Arabic. And finally, justify any recommendations with solid contextual evidence. For example, if you are evaluating health and fitness, you might point out a massive rise in digital engagement. Then you explain the disconnect between virtual tracking and actual physical action. Finally, you justify a public health pivot based entirely on that specific evidence. That is how you prove to me that you are thinking critically, not just reciting a textbook.
So, considering the strict requirements of the 15-second structure scan, the mark per minute velocity rule, and the final quality review pass, I have to ask you, what is your target grade? How are you actually tailoring your preparation for the 2027 topics today? You need to honestly reflect on whether your current study habits have you trapped in the descriptive tier or if you are actively pushing your writing into the evaluative tier. Understanding this required processing sequence and the critical need for cross-topic connections is exactly what transforms an average essay into an exceptional elite-level script.
The examiner's playbook is now fully in your hands. Your next step is absolutely crucial. Relentlessly practice past papers. Take these 2027 topics, law and order, health and fitness, travel and tourism, medical advances, and pollution, and write out full, highly evaluative arguments under strict timed conditions. Show your logical working every single time and build those sophisticated cross-topic connections using advanced Arabic terminology. When you master the interconnectedness of these global issues, you are not just passing a test, you are demonstrating true high-level mastery. Finally, make sure you subscribe to ACE Exams at ACE Exams. Click the notification bell for our weekly examiner breakdowns, and right now, drop a comment below stating your subject, your qualification level, and your current target grade. Keep analyzing, keep evaluating, and I will see you at the marking desk next time.